Alright guys, so welcome to my SimCity videos. Not Wolf Tanks, not Warten this time, SimCity. I've had a lot of problems with SimCity and it finally got fixed, and now I'm playing SimCity again since the past week. Now, since the past week I made 5 major cities and 4 of the 5 cities got traffic problems, and I just don't know what the problem was. I've had absolutely no idea, so I did a little bit of research on the internet and I finally found out what the problem was. Now the problem was my city layout. The road network was just horrible in my city. I've had one big road in the middle of the city and everything around it. So everyone who wants to leave the city had to go over this giant road. But this giant road, there were traffic jams everywhere. The whole city was just stuck. Nothing can pass through it. And I thought like, what's the problem, Well, the problem was my road network. This is really important. So I did a little bit of internet research and a little bit of experience for myself about how to make the road network as best as possible. Now, by doing that, I looked at my own city. My own city where I live, we have a big road around the city. And what this road does is that everyone who doesn't need to be in the center of the city just can pass along it. They don't have to be in the center of the city, so they just can drive along it. The center of the city is the commercial zone, by the way. So everyone who doesn't need to be in the commercial zone just can drive around it. Now this stops a lot of traffic inside the center of the city. For example, if you don't have this circle thingy around it, and you just have one big crossroad in the middle of the city, everyone wants to take that crossroad, and there will be a big traffic jam inside the city. So you don't want this to be. Just build this thing around your commercial zone and all the important buildings, like for example my city home. The next thing what I did is, if you have even more bigger cities, like for example Brussels or Antwerp, they have this around the city, a big road around the residential zones. So if there is some guy coming from the highway and he wants to go inside my city, but he wants to be around, let's say here with my bus depot, so what he can do is not pass in the center of the city, so not go through this commercial zone, but what he can do is take the less populated road and just drive through here to there, to spread the traffic a little bit, if you know what I mean. If there was any questions about that, just ask it in the comments and I will answer it. And I'll also have the same road here. So everyone wants to go, like for example, everyone wants to go towards the high wealth area. They just have to go towards this road, and they will be at the high wealth area, and they don't have to pass through the center of the city. So this is how you want it to be. Now you may think like, well, what's this doing here? My first thoughts of this city were not to build an industrial city. I just want this to be a residential city. Like you can see, if you go to my region, I have a friend here who is building an industrial city, and once if he has enough factories, I will just delete this and make residential things instead. But you may think like, well, if you're going to create residentials there, aren't they going to spawn in cars and occur traffic jams here? Oh, hang on, you can't see it anywhere. Are they just going to spawn in and occur traffic jams here? And you may think like, yes, they are going to do, but what I'm going to do just instead is get a road and get it to here. So they can go this way, so they can go this way, and they can go this way. So, next. These are the roads you want to have. Next I'm going to talk a little bit of the residential zones. I'm going to let you take a look at my residential zones. You can't see my mouse. I'm sorry for that, but you can still see me pointing on the buildings. If you zoom in a bit, you can see that there are no... Hang on, let me take... So, did you remember where the green thing was? But there were no residentials around the avenues. Like you can see, there were no residentials around the avenues, residential zones. So why, you may think? Well, because For example, if you have a small town and little houses are spawning, and you may think like, well, I can fit a little house there and get a little bit more population and get a little bit more tax money. That's all okay, but the problem later on is that when you still have those residential zones there, is that they are creating big apartments like this, and those big apartments here, if they are connected towards the avenue and not towards this road, everyone who wants to go inside the apartments has to stop and then turn into the apartment. And if that car stops, it stops traffic's behind him also. So you don't want this residential, don't put residential around your avenues, just do it around the roads. With commercial zones it doesn't really matter, same story towards the industrial zones, it doesn't really matter. Just don't put residential zones around the avenues. Just don't, guys, don't do it. Next thing we have fireman. The fireman. The biggest problem with my previous city were the fireman and the police departments, because there were so many fires in my city, and I've had a fully upgraded fire depot, fire department, and the fire department just couldn't reach the destination because there were so many traffic jams. So everything was burning down and I couldn't do a single thing about it. So if you place your fire thing here, place it around where a lot of fire occurs. So like for example here in my medium wealth zone. There also occurs a lot of fires in my low wealth zone and in my industrial zone. So what I did is I've also placed a fire department here. So this is covered up. Next we have the biggest problem of them all too, the police. There are so many people leaving my city because of crime. The most crime happens here at the center of the city, around the commercial zones. A lot of crime happens here. So what you want to have is your police department be right after your after your commercial zone. Also, and I forgot to do this, sorry for this, but also try to get your police department around the low wealth zone, because a lot of crime also occurs on the low wealth areas. So if you have a police department, the best place to place the police department is around here. And you may think, well, what does this have to do with traffic jams? Because the biggest problem with my previous city was that there were fires and crimes everywhere, because my public service just couldn't reach its destination. So that's why I'm telling you this. Next we have public transport. This is a small aspect. People think like, well, I'm just going to place a little bit of buses and it should be fine. No, it's not, trust me. I have a little bit of buses and they do help. Every bus carries 40 guys, so that's 40 less cars. You want to have a little bit of buses, just place it around everywhere. Put a lot of bus stops inside the commercial zone and put a lot of bus stops around the industrial zone. That's all I can say about buses. What is important are your motor cars. Motor cars are very important. Like for example here I have my motor car. I mean streetcar. Streetcar I mean. Like you can see I have a lot of avenues. And all these avenues are upgraded towards streetcars avenues. And these streetcars will be very handy because every single streetcar carries 200 guys or 200 persons. You want to have a lot of streetcars. If you have a lot of streetcars in your city and you have a lot of connections between your streetcars, they will lower traffic jams a lot, but I mean a lot. So please guys, put a lot of streetcars in your city. This really helps to lower the traffic jams. So streetcars we had, and next is education. You may think, well, education, but this has to do with street jams. Well, it's not really about the school itself, it's about the buses. I only got 4 buses, but these buses really help to get your kids to destinations. For example, you have a bus but just has been sent out to get the kids. If this bus is full, the people will just send their kids to school with cars, and you don't want cars into your city. So place a lot of bus stops and a lot of buses in your city. School buses, I mean. Yeah, also buses, of course. This is really important, guys. Please do this. But this is around it. I don't really know. If there's anything you know that I haven't said and it's a very handy tip, just place it in the comments below, and maybe it's even better. I mean, why not? Less traffic is more fun. So let's take a quick look over it and explain in a brief moment about how you want to set your city layout. So to not have too much traffic jams, have a very good road network. So I have a road network around my commercial zone, so everyone who doesn't need to be in my commercial zone just can drive along it. Everyone who doesn't need to be in my residential zones just can drive along these roads, and I don't have to go through the center. Next we have residential zones. Don't ever place residential zones around the avenues. Don't. Commercial zones and in the industrial zones it doesn't really matter. Next we have fire departments. Place fire departments where fire occur a lot. So for example here around the industrial zone and around the low wealth zone. Health, I've never really had problems with health, so I don't know. Police is really important to place it just after commercial zone, so they don't have so they have to travel the least distance as possible, because most of the crimes will occur here. Education, place a lot of school buses. Public transport, try to place a lot of streetcars. Buses don't really matter, just place a few. Also train stations and tramways and ponts, I mean. You may see this thing here, and you may think like, what is this? This is a kiss or ride. This is really important, because when people arrive to my city, like via boats or via trains or something like that, they will spawn a car. For some reason, it's typical SimCity logic, for some reason they will spawn a car and they start driving towards the destination. Now what this thing does here is that everyone can park their car here and just take the bus from there. So so you're arriving towards my city here, train here, you step out, you spawn a car, this car drives here, and then it drives right through my kiss and ride and it takes the bus from there. This is really important, to place these kinds of services around the trains and around the ponds. I don't have it around the ponds, should place it there though. But the kiss and ride is really handy for me. So that's it. If there's anything I missed or anything that's not clear, feel free to ask it in the comments below, and don't be afraid to leave a comment if you have any more tips. So that's it, and follow, and I'm out. Bye. The biggest and most important for helping your traffic jams are roads. And what the hell? Oh shit. So, the roads. You want your roads to be like this.